Hello everybody, welcome to another talk from Grade 7. This month we have the honor to have Dr. Anmol as our speaker. Dr. Anmol is a senior security researcher specializing in AI security, and she works to secure 5G and 6G networks. She is also an adjunct professor at George Washington University. She has a doctorate degree in cybersecurity analytics, which combines the field of AI and cybersecurity. Her research focuses on privacy, preserving machine learning and the security vulnerability of machine learning algorithms. In addition, Dr. Anmol is an alumni at University of Texas at Dallas, and she completed her bachelor in software engineering and her master in computer science at UT. Dr. Anmol regularly posts content and writes research papers about cybersecurity and AI. She has contributed work to prestigious international conferences such as IEEE SmartNet. Dr. Anmol is also an award-winning speaker and has spoken at numerous international events and conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So in this talk, it's more about how you use your academic experience to get the career you want. So I'll be sharing insight from my career journey and then share some lessons learned so you can apply some of these same lessons to your own careers. So about me, I'm an alumni here. I remember attending a similar talk as this when I was a student here a couple of years ago. I have varied jobs in computing. So I'm an international speaker. I do that in my free time. I also work in the industry and I'm an adjunct professor. I teach AI and machine learning. I also used to work in the government. So I have experience with all the different sectors, whether government or industry. You can scan the QR code for my LinkedIn. And if you don't feel comfortable scanning the QR code, just look me up on LinkedIn and I'm sure you can find my profile. So the first question is, what can you do in computing? Any ideas from the audience?
What doesn't involve computing nowadays?
Yeah, you're right. Everything, right? Everything in computing. You could be an industry researcher, a professor. You could work in many different industries. So there are so many different options out there. I know a lot of us, we study computer science, software engineering, and then we think, okay, we're going to be a software developer. But actually, there's so many different options that are out there. So as students, I mean, me included, when I was a student, I thought my career path was going to be a straight trajectory, like graduating with the computer science degree, I was going to be a software developer. And then it ended up actually transforming in ways I didn't anticipate. So as students, when you're looking at your career, don't be afraid if things start to change and morph as you go on in your journey. It's never going to be a straight line. So the key point of this talk is, how do you leverage your academic experiences here at UTD to get the career you want? So just a little bit about me. Even though I'm in computing now, I didn't always start out in computing. So I actually joined UTD as a business administration major, believe it or not. So I didn't even really consider tech to be a career option for me. And then from all of the different ECS activities that were happening, I realized I wanted to go into technology. So I changed my major my sophomore year into software engineering. So the main message here is it's never too late to change to something you're interested in. Whether you're changing your major, changing your career, it's never too late. The main thing is following your interest versus just focusing on, oh, everyone's doing this, so I should do that too. So once I switched my major to computer science, I joined the ECS department. And as a lot of you are doing, I took a lot of courses and got an internship. So I learned all about programming, and later on in upper division courses, I learned about cybersecurity and AI. And I took electives in cybersecurity like data and application security. I took AI and machine learning. And I basically tried to learn as much as I could about the subjects that interest me so that I could be more successful in my career. I also joined student organizations and did something you all are doing right now, attending guest lectures. I talked with people, I learned from people in the industry. So the main point here is whenever you're interested in something, whether it's AI, whether it's quantum computing, learn about it and talk about it with other people. Here on campus, you have so many resources available to you that it's so easy for you to be able to talk to people. You can attend lectures like this or just join clubs and you'll learn so much. So that was me as a student. So why did I start my career in the government? I actually joined a scholarship program here at UTD. It's called the Cybersecurity Scholarship Program. And by the way, this is open to US citizens and permanent residents. But basically, I joined this program and it gave me a full scholarship for my master's education in computer science. But in order to get this scholarship, you're required to work in the government. And so I did that. And I actually joined the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So it's part of the Department of Homeland Security. That agency is a new agency. It was just started in 2018. So my recommendation is if you're interested in a stable career, in a career which gives you lots of training opportunities, definitely government is a really good option. I really liked starting my career in the government because I was one of the students that graduated during COVID-19. So life was definitely very unpredictable during COVID-19. I was on spring break here at UTD, and then our spring break just never stopped. Like I thought I was going to be on campus in like 2 weeks, and then it ended up being a month, and then I just never really went on campus again. So definitely stability is very, very important. And I think at the time, government was a very good, stable option. And the government gives you a lot of training, a lot of courses that you might not get in the private sector. They really believe in training their workforce. So they pay for a lot of skills and courses. So that was government. And now what is academia like? So now definitely as a professor, I understand the challenges of being a professor now that I've gone through it. Definitely, it's very different than being a student because when you're a professor, it's not just you're taking classes and learning the material. When you're teaching something, you have to understand it very well and be able to teach many different kinds of students from different backgrounds and different skill sets. So I teach AI and machine learning as part of a doctoral program. So I basically teach AI and machine learning for the purposes of doing research. So I answer students' questions about research, dissertations, about how you apply AI in the research world. And so definitely as a professor, you learn to juggle many different things. It's not even just teaching, it's developing homework assignments, grading them. It's also prioritizing teaching and research at the same time. So ensuring that you not only teach your students, but you also research in the field. So it's definitely a lot of juggling, but it's also very rewarding because you can help inspire and shape the next generation. And it's really fun. I really enjoy teaching, but that's definitely one career path that's an option for you if you're interested, is working in academia. And this is something generally you would need a doctoral degree, but if you really like research, this is definitely a career path that I would recommend. So now talking about research, so I work in the industry as a security researcher. And before I actually started my current role, my research career experiences were shaped right here at UTD. So at UTD, I worked in the Big Data Analytics Management and Research Lab. I'm not sure if it's still called that, but it was headed by Dr. Khan. So that research was focused on AI, on big data, and applying it to security problems. So they were looking at using AI for security. So for example, you can use AI to detect malware, to detect intrusions. So that's kind of what the research was about. So when I was working in a research lab as an undergraduate student, I learned from the PhD students that were there. I worked in the research lab and I ran my own experiments and I helped shape a research paper and I also helped write and review other research papers. So this experience really helped me because I learned from others about what it is they're working on and how a research career works. And it also helped me later on when I decided to do a doctoral degree. And then from that research experience, it helped me form the foundation for my industry security research job. So I work at Nokia and I prepare 5G and 6G networks. So I work in security standards to develop security standards for the next generation wireless networks. So we're working on a global team. It is very useful, I think, the UTD experience, where we have so much diversity. And definitely in the workforce, we also have a lot of diversity. I collaborate with people all over the world to look into emerging technologies like AI, post-quantum cryptography, etc. It's definitely every day is a different day in industry. I learn new things every day. I work with people from all around the world, so no day is the same. So from academic experiences, if you're interested in research, all of these skill sets you're gaining here, like critical thinking, looking at research papers, drafting your own essays or reports, maybe your own research projects, those experiences all help you with a research career. So the next time you're thinking about, oh, I don't want to write this essay, like, I don't want to do it, just think about in the future, it's actually going to help you in your career. There were some graduate courses I took later on in cybersecurity where we would actually write our own research paper, and that was our project. And that was directly applying it to something I do now in my job on a regular basis. So definitely you learn something from every experience. I would say from every class, I learned something that I now use every day. And sometimes it's not a direct, correlation or to say like, oh, this assignment directly helped me with this skill set. But you realize that some of the courses and some of the skills that you're using, they're actually helping you now in your career because you came across a similar situation in an assignment, or you applied a solution in a similar way as a student, and now it's real life in the industry. So definitely, I would say no matter what career path you choose, your skill set here at UTE will help you get there. So now the question is, what is it like to work in AI security? So AI security, for those who aren't aware, it's basically like AI and cybersecurity. So in AI security, we have something called defensive and something called offensive. So you can look at it from two angles. Either you use AI for security, so you apply AI solutions to help you secure things, or you attack AI itself. So I work on both aspects. So when you're looking at securing AI itself, you study how you break AI algorithms and then try to secure it. For example, some generative AI tools in the past, when you would send it emojis, it would end up breaking, and it would say things like that it hates all people. So it would say really bad things, right? So that's an example of jailbreaking the chatbot. And to secure it, first you need to know this attack is an issue, and then you try to build guardrails or defenses around it. Another aspect, which you might look at in some of your AI and machine learning courses here, is using AI for security. So whenever, if any of you are taking AI or machine learning, you probably have Python assignments. When I took it here, I learned about how to implement the different algorithms in Python. And that actually helps you when you're coding security solutions in AI. So any algorithm you develop in your machine learning course, you can apply it to solve really any different challenge you encounter in the industry. So it could be using AI to detect malware. It could be AI for healthcare. It could be AI for transportation. So whenever you're programming something, you can always apply that code to something else. So actually, even though we focus a lot on the development in AI security and in cybersecurity, the focus is on the data. So actually here, if we look at this chart, data scientists spend most of their time preparing data, 60%. So this is just to show you that everything is about data. And whenever you're looking at AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, you need to look at what your data sets look like. You need to learn how to clean your data. And ultimately, if you don't have good data, your AI algorithm won't give you good results. So if you want to work in AI security or emerging technology, I recommend staying up to date with the different developments that are happening. I personally look at first research papers, so Google Scholar, and I just search for keywords. And then I also look at any online resources, like, for example, a news article came out yesterday that researchers have found ChatGPT is a better therapist than humans are. What do you think about that? Yeah, and then another research article came out saying AI over-reliance is actually making people lose critical thinking skills. So those are two examples of news articles that just came out. And so whenever you're monitoring developments, look at kind of what the news is talking about. And then you can also research different research papers as well. Google Scholar I mentioned, just search for different keywords that you're interested in, and you can read some of the papers. Definitely, when you're working in emerging technology, you have to apply creativity and imagination. So in my role, a lot of it is trying to do things that have never been done before. For example, let's say hypothetically, I wanted to develop the next flying car. I don't know how to do that. No one really knows how to do that. So how do we go about solving that problem? So definitely any imagination, any creativity you have, whether it's in tech or in maybe one of your hobbies, that can apply to your career as well. So definitely, I would say if you're interested in technology, just keep learning and keep exploring, and it will help you in your career. And next lesson is don't be afraid to chart your own path. So I actually started as an international speaker. So that is, I speak at conferences all around the world, and I've spoken to some organizations as well. And I did this all in my free time. So I speak professionally for different organizations, companies, and events to teach people about tech. And I did this completely on my own, just like what you would think an extracurricular activity. Same thing for me. I just did it over the weekends, during the evenings. And really, if you want to do this, it's just apply online and see what happens. I mean, even as students, you can speak at local events here in Dallas if you're interested. So this is something everyone can do. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there and applying online and showing people what you know and teaching others about it. I also launched my own company and I consult on the side. So I've spoken to different people and organizations about technology. The key thing is people who are in non-tech fields, getting them to understand technology. So for example, healthcare workers, like your doctors, your physicians, they need to understand technology too, because everyone's using technology now. Like we mentioned earlier, technology and computing is everywhere, but not everyone has the skill set we have. So I believe in translating our skill set into language that everyone can understand and relate to, so that everyone can understand why AI is so important, why cybersecurity is so important, what quantum computing means for them. So the main lesson here is if you're interested in something or you want to do something, remain persistent, don't give up, and keep working on your goals. And don't be afraid if your goals change. Just, okay, after this lecture, maybe you want to look at AI security. So, okay, start looking at AI security and maybe try to do your own side projects in Python, for example. Maybe that's an interest area. So just keep learning and keep working towards your goals. So now, kind of wrapping up this knowledge sharing session, right? How do you have a fulfilling career? So these are just some of the lessons that I've gained so far. Here's the first lesson is that careers are really long and your interests might change. So I remember being a student and thinking, yes, like I'm going to be a software developer. I know I'm going to do that. And then maybe I'll become a manager and I'll just keep climbing up the corporate ladder. But your interests might change. You might want to do something that might not even exist yet. And careers are long, so you can always change your mind or change your field later on as well. So definitely as a student, try to take any course that interests you and focus on your interest areas. If you are a planner like me and you want to have goals, then I would recommend looking at early career goals, maybe first 2, 3, 5 years, but definitely be open to change, kind of keep it flexible. So it's like, for example, a lot of people are talking about AI, cybersecurity, post-quantum cryptography. Maybe, okay, take AI, machine learning, cryptography course, and cybersecurity course, if that's what you're interested in. So just follow your interest areas and keep learning. And also have regular check-ins with yourself to see what you want to change or keep the same. So definitely for me, I started speaking because I got really bored of just being in COVID-19 lockdown and not really talking to anyone. So speaking was an outlet for me so that I could start speaking to people and feeling like I'm part of the world again. So definitely have regular check-ins with yourself. And I like to do it every month and say, okay, this is what I like that's happening in my life. And this is what I want to keep the same. And this is what I might want to change. And this is something I think these apply to life, not just careers, just life lessons in general. And definitely the main thing is to find something that you like and find ways to keep doing what it is you like doing. So, for example, I really like talking to people. So I want to find ways to keep doing that. I like educating people. I like teaching people. So I found ways to keep doing that. So it doesn't have to be career oriented. It's just, anything in life. Maybe you really like certain things like hobbies, like playing the guitar, for example. So find ways to block that into your schedule and say, okay, like on Saturdays, I'm going to spend 1 hour on my hobby. So those are kind of the lessons learned that I have. And really, it just boils down to being happy with whatever you are achieving and focusing on what it is you enjoy and find ways to keep doing that. So here are some lessons learned is rejection is redirection. I'm sure all of us have been there when we apply to an internship or job and we don't get that job offer or that internship. But it's okay because, if you don't get that job, it's okay. You'll find something else, maybe something you didn't even anticipate before. So definitely don't be disheartened if you get rejected from that job or that dream company or that internship. And it's okay if your interests change. I know I already repeated this, but I think it's very important to mention is that your interests might keep changing over time, and that's okay. And it's more important to focus on having fun in whatever it is you're doing. And if, for example, there are certain things you don't like, try to incorporate some things you do like in whatever it is you're doing. So definitely focus on your interest areas and don't be afraid if in life your interest or your goals they change, that's okay. And definitely don't be afraid to do something different. You're all unique individuals and you all have different skill sets and things to offer the world. So don't be afraid to follow a path that maybe not everyone does. It's just important to do something that you enjoy and that you really like doing. And don't worry about what other people might say or might tell you. So final, leaving you with this. This is a quote from one of the podcasts I was featured on. So my biggest piece of advice, again, is to focus on what genuinely interests you. You need to focus on what excites you. So in college, it's easy to look at what peers are doing and feel pressure to follow the same path. But true success comes from pursuing what excites you, whether it's AI security, red teaming, so hacking things, or blue teaming, which is defense. Choose what you enjoy and let that passion drive your journey without worrying what other people might think. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming out in such cold weather, and feel free to connect if you have any questions. Any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Early in the presentation, you said that you really benefited from meeting and talking to and learning from other students and different professors, etc. I run into a lot of students that can barely speak when spoken to by a professor, much less raise a hand in class or go to somebody's office, right? What do you recommend for students in that position?
Yeah, I mean, in that position, so some of us are introverted, maybe, especially at this age, I would say students might be scared to raise their hand or to talk to professors because you think, oh, like professors are all the way up here, they've accomplished so much. And I'm just a student. What if I say something stupid? But actually, speaking as a professor myself, I mean, there are no stupid questions. There are nothing that you can say where a professor would like laugh at you or make fun of you. I mean, as educators, it's our job to teach students. So if you don't understand something, definitely tell your professor about it. If you still don't feel comfortable speaking in person, send an email. You know, it's just you type in an email and then your professor responds to that. And I mean, if all else fails, like talk to your fellow students. Maybe one of your friends is an extrovert and they like participating in class. Make friends with them and talk to them and maybe ask them questions. The key thing is like look around in this auditorium. There's so many of you here, and I'm sure all of you have different skill sets. And it's really important to talk to others, to learn from them, because I can speak for my own career. I mean, I didn't get here alone. I needed help from professors, students, colleagues, mentors, etc. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, great question. So the question was, is government still a viable position given the current political developments in cybersecurity and AI security? So keeping politics out of it, because I know we all have different viewpoints. I think so. This Department of Governmental Efficiency layoffs that we're seeing, I think it's a short-term thing. I think overall, it's going to go back to the same thing, stability. It's just, I think this is a short-term blip. I think long-term though, government is still a really good option because government gives you access to training courses, to certifications, like they pay for certifications that some private sector industries, they might not. So I would say it's still a viable option, even now.
You recommend any other governments that might be more stable?
No comment.
Jesus, to have some.
Yes, another question?
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
You know, how would you consider, like, if you're still interested in nowadays, do you different than how you started?
So I think it's still very much the same. I think, so in government, it's different, like resumes need to be like 6 to 10 pages long. So having a federal resume, it's very different than a private sector resume. I think maybe right now there's a blip. So currently, like at this moment, they're not maybe hiring as much, but I think it's again short term. And I think, you know, once it goes back to hiring people, because, you know, people are leaving, but then they need to get people to replace those people who are leaving. Then I think the same strategies apply. Same thing with any job, right? Apply to agencies that you're interested in and network with students, with faculty, network with other people that are interested in it. If you're interested in government, I mean, SFS, the scholarship program I did, it was really helpful because you could network with students that were in the same situation as you, right? So like, if everyone, all of you are trying to get into Microsoft or Amazon and you all work through Lead Code every night, like that definitely helps you a lot more than studying on your own. Yes.
So let me get it back to UT Dallas. So you went to UT Dallas as a Bachelor of Science student, as an undergraduate student, as a master student.
Yes.
And then I'm sure that your career outside UTD, you encounter students coming from other places, or former students from other places. I think your colleagues from other places,
Yeah.
to the science degree. Did you at any point felt less prepared than your peers? Peers coming from UT Dallas, CMU, other places. What did you feel well prepared?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, I attended UT Dallas And when I started working and I came across other people studying computer science, did I feel unprepared compared to people at other universities like UT Austin, CMU, etc.? So actually, I think I was more prepared than those students. And yes, so maybe it's just my experience, but I definitely learned a lot from UT Dallas. Like I mentioned, I did my master's degree in computer science here, which helped because we had a lot of programming courses. And some of the colleagues I came across, they didn't know how to do, for example, Linux commands like in GitHub commands or Linux commands, which is something at UT Dallas we learn in our, I forget the number, but it's like C++ programming. Yeah, in Unix environment. Actually, you need that in your job. So definitely, I would say from my experience, I learned a lot here at UT Dallas from an academic standpoint. It really helped, especially in my government career, because, for example, Linux commands, that's something you might come across in your job. Learning Python, again, that's something you might come across in your job. So again, my advice is just take electives that interest you. Like I know there are some courses, like you know you're going to get an A no matter what you do, but it's more important to take the courses that you see yourself excited about versus just focusing on grades. I know like right now everyone's worried about grades, but trust me, once you graduate, no one's going to care what your GPA is after your first job. It really is just for your first job, and then after that, no one cares. What they do care about is what you learned and how you can apply what you learned. Yes.
How did you become certain that whatever you truly wanted was practical and like not something that would be feasible financially or career-wise?
Yeah, I mean, great question. So there are things like, for example, financially and career-wise, what is practical for me, and how was I sure whether what I liked was practical or not? I think for me personally, I just approach things very practically. Like, for example, you know, I might really want to be an Olympic athlete, but you know, for me personally, that's not an option. So throughout my life, I've just gone through this thing where I do like, okay, here are my strengths. This is what I really like doing. Can I do more of that? Like for me, I really liked, for example, English class growing up. And that actually helped me later on with speaking, with writing. My brother, on the other hand, he likes math, science, and he doesn't like English. So it's like whatever your strengths are, you focus on those strengths and you do what interests you. Now, I'm not saying like all of your most extravagant dreams will come true. I'm saying if you're interested in something, find a way to keep doing that. Whether it's, okay, you really want to do something related to, I don't know, playing the guitar. Maybe that's not your career, but then you could volunteer at an organization. So you can still do what you enjoy, even if your day job might be something else. So that's just one example. Any other questions?
Okay, we have.
Yes.
Motivation, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of a two-part question, and I'll just repeat it for everyone to hear. So AI security, how is it different in the different sectors, government, academia, industry? And then the second part of your question was motivation of government to private sector. So first question about AI security. So I think AI security is a hot topic that's constantly changing. I'm working in the field and I see every day there's a new research paper. Like those two research articles I quoted you online, those just came out like a few days ago. So things keep changing rapidly in the field. I think academia is more focused on teaching you the foundational skills. So that's programming, learning AI, learning cybersecurity, because those fundamental concepts don't generally change. So you need those foundational concepts in order to do things in the industry and in government. And then I would say in terms of, when you start working, industry, government, they focus more on the cutting edge developments. So I mentioned, right, post-quantum cryptography, that's something a lot of people are talking about. So it's more about academia, you learn the foundation, and then you apply it when you start working. And it's a lot of learning every day. So it's not just something like I learned it 5 years ago and I can keep doing the same thing. Every day I'm like, oh, I see this new development happen. So I would say industry, government, wherever you're working, it's more fast paced, but you need the strong foundation that you get in academia. And then I think in terms of moving jobs, so the second part of your question, so it's really a personal decision whether you want to work somewhere or not. For me, it wasn't that I was actively looking to leave the government. It's just I came across an opportunity to work in 5G, 6G research and AI security. And I knew I had to take it because from my experience in UTD, I really liked working in the research lab, learning about AI security. And I wanted to keep doing that. And I wanted to work on the cutting edge solutions to solve these challenging problems. 6G is something we won't standardize it fully until 2030. So it's definitely an active field where you have to keep learning new things every day. Any other questions?
Thank you so much for your amazing talk. I really enjoy it. I have a question regarding why you are working in industry rather than academic, because you are a researcher and you have you work with at the Dr. Cont lab and you have very good paper. So, in the industry, you are doing research. So I am wondering why you are not in the academic field and doing some research.
Yeah, I mean, great question. So the question was, I'm working in industry and why not academia? So I think I found a healthy balance with the adjunct professor role and my industry role. So I still teach at the university, I still educate others. And then I think that's just how, my career unfolded was I ended up doing the industry role. In my industry role, my colleagues, they almost all have PhDs, so they're all coming from that academic mindset. A lot of our performance is based on, did you write, X amount of research papers in high impact factor journals? So it's still kind of academia in a way, but it's just we're looking at things from more what's going to happen, like right now, like in the next year, in the next month. Whereas I think academia, you still do that in research, but you also educate students at the same time. So I think in my industry role, I am kind of doing the research that a professor might do, but then of course, the performance measurement is slightly different.
So the student can move to industry even with the master's degree and PhD degree.
Yes. Yes, actually, in my industry job, they recommend everyone has a PhD. So if you want to work in like post-quantum cryptography, if you want to work in AI security, a lot of them recommend PhDs because it does require you to look at those dense research papers and be able to analyze them and understand what they mean, and then contribute research to the field. Thank you.
That's actually
Yes, I see a question.
Would you say, so for our students who maybe are just starting in their master's program and are thinking of their career outcomes in 2 years, what would be maybe one or two things that you think you did either early in your master's program or throughout your master's program that helped set you up for success in our competitive market right now?
Yeah, great question. So as a master's student, what did I do to set me up for career success? So I was a fast track student, so I might be a little different than the traditional master's student. So I did the master's and bachelor's in 5 years versus a master's in 2 years. So it's a program, if any of you are undergraduate seniors, your senior year, you take master's courses alongside undergraduate courses. But I think definitely early on in my master's degree, I continued working in the research lab with Dr. Khan. So definitely if research is something that interests you, I would recommend finding a research lab that you're interested in and talking to a professor about it. And then of course, networking in different student clubs. For example, personally, I looked at Computer Security Group or CSG. They were a really useful cybersecurity club. And I think they're still really active today. And like this, they have free pizza on Wednesday night. So I definitely recommend, learning in a research lab and then networking with students in different organizations.
Any other question? Okay.
Yes.
You to really find your voice and network with other people that you may have been unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I mean, it was really important to find my voice and network with other people. I think when I started at UTD, especially because I switched my major, I was not confident at all, to be honest with you, when I was an undergraduate student, because I felt like, I'm not like these other people that have been programming since they were in high school. But I think what helped me was joining student organizations because they're a lot more informal, especially like the cybersecurity clubs. And they're very informal and it's just students teaching others about concepts. So I think that definitely helped me, was just being in an informal environment and just talking with friends, like, oh, we're all studying for this exam. And we look up certain news articles online and, oh, okay, let's have a discussion about that. So I think it's something, getting confidence, finding your voice. I think don't expect it to just magically happen right away. It's definitely a process. So you might slowly start being more confident. And then before you realize it, you're so confident and you found your voice. But it just starts out with small things like sending that email, volunteering to speak at an organization, talking to the student sitting next to you in class. So just do those small things and it helps you gain confidence.